الزمان.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ahlan wa sahlan wa marhaba bikum. Karibu sana katika An-Nasheed ukiletewa nami Abdurazak Ingutia, ikiwa leo ni Ijumaa ambayo ni tarehe 11 katika mwezi wa Jumada Thani mwaka 1446, siku ambayo ni moja katika siku ambazo ni Eid katika kalenda ya Kiislamu. Ijumaa ambayo tunakumbushana mema na kukatazana maovu kama alivyotuamrisha Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Leo mwenzangu ukhti Fatma Yaqub hayuko, amesafiri, lakini inshallah atakuwa nasi wiki ijayo panapo majaliwa ya Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Kwa hivyo bila kupoteza wakati, ningependa kukukumbusha pia waweza kuwasiliana nasi katika mitandao yetu ya kijamii ambayo ni @An-Nasheed Y254 katika Facebook, X, Gramu. Ukituuliza maswali yako ama ukitupatia mapendekezo yako, pia unaweza tuma shoutouts na tutaisoma inshallah. Nami napatikana kama @Abdurazak Ingutia katika mitandao yote ya kijamii. Na ningependa nikuulize swali kabla hatujaingia katika kipindi chetu cha leo, ili inshallah uweze kunijibu na kuniambia unavyofikiria. Hivi wakati unapokuwa na wakati mgumu, ama if you're going through a hard time, kile ambacho unakifanya ili uweze kupita wakati huo, ama what's your coping mechanism wakati unapata wakati mgumu katika maisha yako? Hebu tuma ujumbe wako katika ukurasa wetu wa Facebook, inshallah tutafurahi sana kusikia kutoka kwako. Na leo pia nina furaha sana kwa sababu tuna kijana ambaye ni mkakamavu, ambaye amejizatiti sana katika kufanya mambo ambayo ni magumu kwa vijana wengi kufanya, na ni kielelezo chema sana katika jamii, na pia aliniambia kuwa yeye ni kiongozi katika jamii ama community leader. Inshallah atatuarifu zaidi na kile ambacho anakifanya, lakini kwa sasa ningependa kwanza tumpe nafasi ya bugie kopo la maji, kisha inshallah nitakuarifu ni nani huyo tunapoingia katika mada yetu ya leo. Kwa hivyo kile ambacho nimekuandalia leo katika Hijaz, kwanza mahakama makuu yameshikilia haki ya wanafunzi wa Kiislamu kuruhusiwa kusoma katika vyuo, na hii ni kutokana na moja katika kupitishwa ama landmark ruling ambayo ilifanyika katika siku ya tarehe 6 mwezi huu wa Disemba, ambayo ilikuwa Ijumaa iliyopita, ambapo High Court ama mahakama makuu yaliweza kuruhusu Waislamu wanafunzi kupata nafasi ya kusoma katika shule ambayo inafahamika kama Vista Oshul Academy kule Parklands. Na uamuzi huu ambao ulitolewa na hakimu James Wakiaga katika koti ya Milimani Law Courts, alisema kuwa shule hiyo inapaswa kuwakubalia wanafunzi wa Kiislamu kufanya swala zao za adhuhuri na pia kufanya swala hizo katika shule hiyo ya Vista Oshul Academy Parklands. Kwa hivyo uamuzi huu ambao ulitolewa katika mahakama hayo yalitolewa baada ya kuwasilishwa kwa petition ambayo ilipelekwa na Supreme Council of Kenya Muslims, na wanafunzi wakiweza kupinga sheria ambayo ilikuwa imetolewa ambayo ilikuwa inawazuia Waislamu kufanya swala zao katika shule hiyo ya Vista Oshul Academy ambayo inapatikana kule Parklands. Tukiendelea na habari zingine ambazo zinajiri sasa hivi, ni kuhusiana na msikiti wa Jamia ambao ulitekeleza maonyesho ambayo yanahusisha watu ambao wamesilimu, na ni kuhusiana na talanta zao na biashara pia, na ilikuwa ni kwa sababu ya kuweza kuhuisha na kufufua sunna ambayo inahusiana na uhamasishaji na uimarishaji wa kiuchumi miongoni mwa vijana. Msikiti wa Jamia mjini Nairobi uliweza kufanya shughuli hiyo ama hafla hiyo katika msikiti huo, katika parking lot ambayo ilikuwa inaweza kuwapatia vijana wa Kiislamu nafasi ya kuonesha talanta zao na pia kuonesha ueledi wao katika biashara, ili kuweza kuwafahamisha na kuwahamasisha katika kuwa na uhuru wa kiuchumi. Tukiendelea pia tumeweza kupata habari kuwa kuna mmoja katika mashehe mashuhuri katika ulimwengu ambaye anafahamika kama Sheikh Daktari Zakir Naik, ambaye atakuja katika msikiti wa Jamia Ijumaa ijayo ambayo ni tarehe 20 mwezi huu wa Disemba, ambapo atakuwa anatoa khutba ama atakuwa anatoa darsa kabla ya khutba katika msikiti wa Jamia pale Nairobi, na wakati atapokuwa kule atakuwa anazungumzia ama anafahamika kwa mambo mengi sana kama vile kuelewa Uislamu ama ueledi wa Uislamu, na pia katika kuchanganua dini mbalimbali pia ni moja katika mambo ambayo anafahamika nayo, na atatoa khutba hiyo kabla ama darsa hiyo kabla ya khutba ya siku ya Ijumaa, na atakuwa pia na mwanaye ambaye anafahamika kama Sheikh Fariq Naik ambaye ni mmoja katika wanazuoni ambao wanaibuka sasa hivi. Tukiendelea katika habari za mwisho ambazo tumekuandalia leo hii katika Hijaz ni kuwa Supreme Council of Kenyan Muslims pamoja na Council of Imams and Preachers of Kenya wametoa onyo katika kwa mashule dhidi ya kutekeleza extra tuition ama zile tuition ambazo huwa zinafanyika katika nyakati ambazo shule zimefungwa, ambayo ni kukiuka mwongozo wa Wizara ya Elimu katika nchi. Akizungumza kule Mombasa, ambaye anafahamika kama Secretary General wa CIPK ambaye anafahamika kama Ambassador Sheikh Muhammad Dor alizungumzia hili jambo na kusema kuwa si vyema kuwa wanafunzi wanaingizwa shuleni na kubakia katika kuendelea na darasa za ziada wakati ambapo shule zimefungwa. Na amesema kuwa siku ya kawaida katika shule huanza saa 2 asubuhi na huisha saa 9:30 jioni, na wanafunzi ama walimu wamezuiliwa kuwalazimisha wanafunzi kubakia shuleni baada ya wakati huo, kama ilivyo ongozwa na Basic Education Regulations ya mwaka Basic Education Regulations 201 ambayo inasema kuwa walimu wanatekeleza vibaya ama wanakosea wanapowakwamisha wanafunzi katika shule ili kuendelea na darasa za ziada. Ni haya tu ambayo tulikuwa tumekuandalia leo katika Hijaz ya An-Nasheed. Inshallah waweza kuwasiliana nasi na ukatuarifu kile ambacho ungependa tuzungumzie katika vipindi vijavyo. Inshallah pia maswali yako waweza kuuliza, na sitachukua muda kabla sijamkaribisha mgeni wetu wa leo ambaye ni mgeni wa siku ya kwanza kabisa, lakini tunapenda wageni, kwa hivyo ningependa sana asiondoke na kaondoka kabisa, bali aondoke na akumbuke kurejea siku nyingine inshallah. Na kama kawaida ama si kawaida, lakini ni moja ya mambo ambayo hufanyika mara kwa mara katika kipindi chetu cha An-Nasheed, huwa tunapokea wageni ambao huleta zawadi, na zawadi ambayo ni zawadi kubwa sana, ni zawadi ya elimu ambayo unaweza kumpa mwenzako ikamfaidi leo, ikamfaidi kesho, na pia itakufaidi na wewe kama sadaqatul jaria unapotutangulia mbele ya haki. Na mgeni wetu wa leo ametuletea kitabu ambacho ni zawadi kama alivyosema Mtume Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, utlubul ilm hatta ila Swin, tafuta elimu hata kikubidi kusafiri katika nchi ya mbali kama vile Uchina. Na vile pia akasema talabul ilm faridhatun ala kulli muslim, yani kutafuta elimu ni faradhi kwa kila Muislamu. Kabla sija kuonyesha zawadi, ningependa kwanza tumkaribishe mgeni wetu ambaye anafahamika kama Ahmed Hassan Odawa. Ni kijana kama sisi, ni kijana ambaye pia ni mwandishi wa vitabu, mwanaharakati wa haki za kibinadamu, na vile pia ni mental health champion, na pia ni kiongozi katika jamii. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Sijui kama kuna chochote ambacho nimekosa kutaja kukuhusu katika introduction.
Kila kitu kiko sawa.
Naam. Karibu sana katika kipindi chetu cha An-Nasheed. Na furahi sana kwa sababu umeweza kutenga muda wako na ukafika leo hii ili uweze kutuelimisha kuhusiana na mada yetu ya leo, na pia kuhusiana na kitabu chako ambacho umekiandika, na nina maswali mengi ambayo ningependa kukuuliza kwa niaba ya mtazamaji. Na mtazamaji pale nyumbani, mada ambayo tutakuwa tunazungumzia ni kukabiliana na wakati mgumu katika maisha, jinsi ya kukabiliana na wakati mgumu katika maisha. Na inshallah ambaye tutakuwa naye katika studio anafahamika kama Ahmed Hassan Odawa. Karibu sana.
Shukran, jazakallah khair.
Amin.
Ni furaha yangu kuwa hapa kwa siku ya leo.
Karibu sana.
Nafurahia sana.
Naam.
So kwa majina mimi naitwa Hassan Ahmed Odawa. Mimi ni mwanaharakati, kiongozi katika jamii, na pia mental health advocate.
Naam.
I also run a mental health organization with some of my friends. So this organization, we started it since most of us, the leaders who started that organization, it is called Jejali Mental Health Organization. So most of us went through mental health challenges. So after that, after we were able to cope with the situations that we went through, we came to realize that so many of the youths are going through mental health challenges. So from there, we decided, why don't we start a platform whereby we can educate people on on what we have gone through, and also they can share their ideas.
I find that to be a very useful thing that you've done out there with your partners, because young people encounter so many mental health challenges with regards to their growth, with regards to finding education, finding partners, finding opportunities in life. And I would like to know, because you've already said that some of you have gone through mental health challenges yourselves, I'd like you to briefly just mention what challenges did you have in your life with regards to your mental health, and how did you overcome these challenges?
Okay, the challenges, one I might talk about is a life situation, you know. Like according to me, I can say life has not been that easy, but alhamdulillah, we thank God for everything. So being raised by one parent, I was raised up by my mother and a single mom. She has been trying so much without no support.
Yeah.
So you find that in between, you get to wonder, yet we can't say there is no people who can help her, but there are people, but they are not helping, you know. Like relatives, they are always there, but they are not supporting. So we went through a lot, you know, like going to school. Like me, alhamdulillah, thank God, I didn't know I was going to join Form 1, though I passed my KSP exams, but I was like, is this going to be the end of it? But alhamdulillah, after that, I started working though, before I joined high school. So I used to work in Isili with some of my few friends who were doing furnitures. They are furniture designers. So I joined them before I joined Form 1. So I worked, at least I was able to help my mother and raise some money. So the challenges, they are like, you know, getting school fees. Another thing, getting proper food and shelter. Like, you know, one person, being raised by a single mother is not easy, because she has to cater for the food, house rent, and
she basically takes care of everything.
Everything.
That's all the expenses, that's rent, food, clothing, school fees, uniform, stationery.
No. So we find that in our family we are four. We were four that time. So by that time, she was not able to provide for us all. Like we find sometimes you're in school, sometimes you're out of school because of lack of school fees. And then also some family issues. Like, you know, the relatives, most of them, if you go to their place, they always, they see you like a burden to them. So when you go to visit your relative, their children, there is somehow they respond to you, and like the way they see you like a beggar. So when you go there, you also have to experience another challenge. Instead of getting help, you experience another challenge.
That's basically being secluded.
Yeah.
I'd like us to come back to that point in a little while, but mtazamaji pale nyumbani waweza kuwasiliana nasi katika ukurasa wetu wa Facebook ambao ni @An-Nasheed Y254 na mitandao yote ya kijamii, na mimi nafahamika kama @Abdurazaq Ingutia katika mitandao yote ya kijamii. Inshallah, leo mada ambayo nilikuwa nimekuarifu tutazungumzia ni jinsi ya kukabiliana na matatizo ya kisaikolojia, lakini tumechukua mkondo mwingine ambao ni tofauti. Hatujabadilisha mada, ila tu tumeamua kwanza kidogo, kwa sababu Kiingereza kimepiku, basi tuingie katika Kiingereza. Na mada ambayo tunazungumzia leo hii katika lugha ya Kiingereza, it's dealing with psychological challenges. So I want us to really get to the point where you talked about dealing with adversities. And you've gotten to this point where you've founded, along with your friends, an institution that handles mental health challenges. And you've even gone to the point of writing this book I'm holding in my hands right now, which is titled Finding Strength in Adversity. And yourself are a person that have experienced firsthand adversity. So I'd like you to mention ways in which you have overcome the adversities that you had to become who you are in society right now.
Okay, what I can say first, my coping mechanism, one of them is having faith, you know, being a religious, being a believer. everything that was happening in my life, as Allah says in the Quran, that He will test us with all kinds of trials, be it death, wealth, provision, properties, loss of properties. So everything that was happening in my life, I didn't take it as a negative, but I took it as an opportunity, a way to where I can learn. So me, what I can say, what helped me is being a religious person. First, I trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that whatever happens is through His will. And whatever is meant to find somebody,
will definitely find
it will definitely find you. The other thing, you can experience a challenge, not in a bad way. Many people, they'll see it in a bad way, but as a believer, what I know, the challenges might be of good. I might think the challenges are so much for me, but little did I know that there is something much better coming. Because even in the Holy Scriptures, like the Holy Scripture and the Quran, we have seen the prophets. All of the prophets that we have been taught about, we have learnt about, they all went through challenges. But at the end of it, they were able to achieve something great. Like, so I can't say I'm going to give up because of the few challenges that I go through. First of all, may I consider my challenges as nothing, because when I look at the life of Prophet Ayub, I see his life, what he went through,
much tougher,
and what I'm going through. So mine is nothing compared to his. So why should I just give up on something that I'll definitely, because Allah says He can't burden a soul with what it cannot bear. So I actually believe that everything that I'm going through, I'll be able to cope with them, and I'm able to manage them.
I would like us to also talk about this book a little bit. You've just basically highlighted what inspired you to write this book. And before we do that, I would like to also add one more ayah to what you've said, or two ayahs where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Inna ma'al usri yusra, Inna ma'al usri yusra. He says that twice, and he says basically that means, indeed with every difficulty, there is ease, exactly. And then he goes on and says again, indeed with every difficulty, there is ease. Which means that, and the way the scholars have interpreted those verses to mean is that you might have one difficulty, but one difficulty has ease that's been doubled. That makes life easier. So this book, which I'm holding in my hands right now, is titled Finding Strength in Adversity. And as far as I know, it's nowhere right now. Is it to say that I'm holding the first copy that has been published, or is it really?
Yeah, actually you're holding the first copy. I think only one person, who is my friend, she has the book. And I gave her when he first produced this first copy. There were two.
So this is like copy number 2. And I'm really
But first publication.
This is the first publication.
No.
So then it's like copy number 1. Anywho, this book is copy number 1, and your friend has copy number 2. We can debate which one's the first one, which was not, but I think the viewer might want to know more about how to find this book. You told me that you're launching this book, so I'd like you to tell us more. What's the venue, what's the time, what's the date of the launch of this book, and how they can even get it, even after the launch and before the launch.
Okay. The book, I'll be doing my book launch this coming Sunday on 15th in Isili, First Avenue. Immediately after Marist Hospital, there is a restaurant called Triple M Restaurant. So that's where we'll be holding the event, as from 1:45 to 6 p.m.
So
and in case anybody needs a copy, maybe you can contact me on 011 388 725.
Okay, thanks. I'm sure that the viewer might have forgotten that. So for the sake of whoever has forgotten the number, inshallah, we're going to post it on our Facebook page. That's at An-Nasheed Y254. You can contact Ahmed Hassan, and you can get to find out how to get a hold of this book, finding strength in adversity. Now, I would like us to move forward with the topic that we are talking about right now. That's basically about how to deal with adversity. And the last 16 days, right now it's actually more than 16 days, but the 10th of this month was the conclusion of the 16 days of a campaign against gender-based violence. And I've been looking at, and I've been really following closely at how sensitization is being done with regards to sensitizing people against gender-based violence. So I see that one of the problems that's causing gender-based violence in society is psychological issues. So I want us to go to question number one, which I think we need to tackle, and that is, what's the cause, really, of gender-based violence? Because when we see someone's been murdered, or someone's been killed, or someone is being abused physically by his or her partner, that is like the result of something that's been seething underneath. So what are the causes of gender-based violence?
Okay. Gender-based violence, first, we have different causes. Like we have social causes and social and cultural norms. Like, so in social, you find something like, being unemployed. Unemployment also can lead to gender-based abuse, because you might find that, let's say, take an example, somebody was working, and then all of a sudden, his contract has been terminated. From there, the person starts looking for a job, and the life also changes. So since this guy is jobless, and the wife expects to have the same thing as it used to be.
Provisions, yeah.
So this is where they start quarreling, like, nowadays you are not doing this and this. But so you find in that situation, the person is having a pressure, So when that pressure increases to the person who is experiencing the challenges, the challenge which is unemployment, the guy now, as much as the pressure increases in a person, even starts changing the moods, behavior and moods also change. So you find that he sees now, when his partner now starts talking to him in a certain way, he will feel bad. Now that's where the violence starts. And you find that that violence can even lead to death, because now the guy is somehow depressed, and he also has the same pressure, Pressure to get a job, to return to the same life that he used to live. Another one, he is also depressed. My people used to depend on me. Now they are seeing me as nothing. You see now this guy, all these things plus the pressure, you find that they start quarreling. And in between, there might be a conflict in between. And the conflict can also lead to death.
I would like us to paint a picture, because gender-based violence is not something that just happens overnight in many cases. And even if it's between two strangers that have met at an Airbnb, there must have been something in the mind of the perpetrator of the crime. So I want us to start with painting a picture. Like, let's get to understand the psychological aspect of someone who commits gender-based violence. I would like us to start with, what do you think the process is like? You've already talked about the deterioration of someone's earnings to a point where he or she cannot provide. Basically, in the most scenarios, he cannot provide for his family. So I would like us to really delve deeper into how it gets to the point where there is violence, there is constant abuse, then eventually murder in some cases. So how does it build up from a loving husband to a murderous partner? How does it really build up?
On that point, we can say, first, there is, this thing cannot just happen once or even after some weeks. For it to happen, there has to be one thing. You can find that the person who is about to commit the offense maybe has some childhood trauma, like childhood negative experiences about life. Like, let's say, for example, somebody used to see how his mom was being treated. So it's always, you have that thing perspective in mind that, you know, our father used to say, women are just useless, you know. So you find that this person still grows up with the same negativity, even though he will be working, but if he's not well educated about this, whatever happened in life, you know, he will still have the same mentality. So you find that this person, when he marries, the same situation, he implies the same situation. Like the way his mother used to say to his father, maybe your father is useless, nothing, and then
he encounters the same.
Yeah, he encounters the same. My wife is still telling me the same thing that my mother used to say, that my father is useless. Now it's me again, I'm useless. Now he implies the same thing that he used to see his father doing. Like when his father used to be violence, he will imply also to be violence, you know. Like this woman is not respecting me. He's doing the same thing my mother used to do. So you find that in that situation, the life might be good, but it reaches a point where by this man, their relationship with his wife, it now changes because, let's say, for example, a person who is jobless, you know, and maybe the wife is working and the guy is jobless. Now, you know, the wife will also see this man as a useless man because he'll say, what's your work as a man? You should be providing. I'm working, I'm providing everything, you're just seated. Without even understanding the inner situation of this guy. Why is this guy not working? So this guy at a time, okay, the pressure is always on me. So what can I do? So first thing you might think of, since he also experienced such thing, you might think of, I can get rid of this person just to stop the noises that she's making on my mind, you know. So you find that from there now, it leads to violence. These people, they start now quarreling over and over. And from that, now, it might come to be a death situation.
I do not want us to look at it as a one-sided aspect of society, because even within the 16 days of campaign against gender-based violence, there was a man who was murdered. He was stabbed several times by his girlfriend. That we're going to come to later. But right now, I want us to talk about the other aspect or the other side of this problem, which is, I'll say that it's part of a scenario that I saw somewhere, and mostly it's always talked about, and it's propagated across social media and mainstream media, where they say, actually there was a poster, there was a billboard in fact, that was written on, it's only weak men who are violent against women. Don't you think that to some extent, some men or many men are actually under so much pressure, not only from society, but also from their own families, from their own spouses, and also from the government? They're under pressure that puts them in that position where they are totally cornered.
Yeah, what I'll say first, I won't say it's not only weak men that are commit this violence. People have to understand that we are all human beings. Somebody might be good, but when he reaches a point where he cannot cope anymore, the behavior changes. That's why human beings were given choices. They are not like animals. So if this guy can choose, if he was good, he can also choose to be bad. A person can be bad and he can also choose to be good.
But then we can also say that someone committing a bad act doesn't make that person bad, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know why? Because the situation. You know, people they start judging somebody without first of all understanding the first situation, you know? The first situation that this guy went through for him to reach in a position that is doing that act. No man is born wicked. But the pressure that people go through is the one that changed them. It's the same thing like when people do say, when you get money, you change.
Yeah.
Obviously, you will change. You won't be the same.
Exactly, yeah.
Because you can't be the way you used to live back there.
Yeah.
And you have money. You have to change trails, you change even friends.
Your behaviors.
Yeah, behaviors too also will change.
Yeah.
So the same situation, somebody might be born good, he's living a good life, he was raised good, in his family there has never been any case of murder or gender-based violence.
Yeah.
But now when the pressure increases, and you know, pressure is not increasing only because this guy is unemployed. First of all, this guy can have maybe a mental issue.
Or a misunderstanding partner.
Or a misunderstanding partner. A pressure also might come from his family. Also, a pressure might also come from friends, you know. They say, show me your friends and I'll tell you who you are.
Yeah.
So also the friends, they influence this gender-based violence. Like, you can have a wife, she's good, but when she starts misbehaving, you start to explain to your friends, they'll tell you, you have to beat her.
Someone will say, someone will be like, I can't be told such by a woman. Someone will be like, if I were you, I wouldn't accept such behavior. Basically, they're fueling anger in this person, or they're fueling him to a point where he feels like I needed to do something to prove myself. Which brings me to this notion that has always been propagated. And I think it's one of the triggers that people who commit gender-based violence, some of them experience. And this is a phrase that says, if you're man enough, you know. Let's talk about the triggers firstly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the triggers must be, there are so many, you know.
Yeah.
Like, first, you know, what triggers a person, you know, somebody might be good, but if you dare him, like, you can dare me, do so. If you are man enough, do this. Beat me, you see. And you can't say, since he's a normal human being, he will get hungry, you know. And if he gets hungry, what will he do?
He'll feel like he has to prove a point.
The first thing, he will prove to you, I can beat you.
Yeah,
you want me to beat you. He will prove to you. And also, what I can say can help a person in such a situation, you know, if you are a religious and you believe, you are a true believer, there are certain things that even if you are dared, you will say, this is just a temptation. Let me, like, you can never either decide to walk out of it, just to go somewhere, relax, and also you can decide to respond on it. So when you respond on it, you don't know the outcomes. The outcomes can be, the person can be hospitalized, or the person can be even dead.
I like to look at it in two ways. Firstly, someone who is triggered or is dared to do something has got options, actually. These are very clear options presented in front of this person. So you either hit this person or you walk away from that thing, from that matter, that problem that's at hand, that's causing a quarrel between the two of you. I would like you to mention, because this is all a matter of mental strength, I think, on the part of those people who break bad. So let's talk about, how does a man in a situation where he's being triggered, society has expectations, they say that you're the man, you're supposed to do all of these things for your wife. In his own perspective, he feels like, I am a man and I need to prove that I'm a man, I need to take care of my wife. There are other men out there who might want to pursue my wife, and I need to prove to her that she needs to stay with me and not go with those other men. So I need you to talk about how to be mentally strong as a man in such adversity, where you're being tested and you're under so much pressure from many aspects in society.
Okay. So what I'll say, people do take it in a bad way. You know, when God created woman, he didn't create woman. He said, when he was creating, he said the woman should help a man, you know. She should be his helper. But when it came to this notion whereby people just said, a man now should provide everything. You know, first of all, what I do say, like, you see why most of us youths, this generation, it's sad for them to marry. Do you know why?
Why?
It's sad for them to marry because, first of all, the other gender, they think, when I'm married, this guy is just, I'm going to be beaten, you know. I'm not going to be treated like... First of all, people need to understand one thing. If you are marrying, now you need to understand that there has to be responsibility. What are the responsibilities? How are we going to live a good life? Although it won't be that good life, because we can't say there is no life without trials. So we are all human beings. We are going to get angry at a certain point. But how are we going to manage this situation? That's where the failure comes. But people, you know, when you marry somebody because you like her, or because of her beauty, now...
Or just because you're in a rush.
Now after that, you will start experiencing, because, you know, she will change. You will get used to her. She will get used to you. Now the behaviors, your behaviors won't be the same like the first time when you guys met. Because meeting somebody at first sight, you don't know his behaviors well unless you live with him or her for a certain period. So getting into this relationship without understanding what it requires, that's where the problem starts. Like, a lady is getting married because she knows that the guy will always be going to provide for me. Without understanding, there is also a point, this guy will be lacking, not even might, will be lacking. He won't be able to provide every day for me. And me as his wife, or as a helper that God created, how am I going to help this man? Because if you have a good wife whereby you guys, you are working together, you are supporting each other psychologically, mentally, spiritually, you find that the bond is strong. But we won't say that there won't be trials. So this is where the problem starts. If you don't understand what is taking you into the marriage, now the problem becomes the same thing, because you just went there first, you wanted to impress maybe your friends, you wanted to make your parents proud of you. Maybe it was a pressure from your friends. You say, my friends are all married, they have kids, and we are the same age, but I don't have even a kid, so I have also to marry, you see. That pressure, without understanding the consequences of marrying, and
the requirements,
the requirements, the consequences, and also the positive part of it. So that's where you find that such situations, they come.
I would like us to also highlight another aspect that's very important. How do women protect themselves from gender-based violence? How would you suggest they do that? Because we looking back at how things have been since the year started. Actually, that was we started this year with a case of a woman being murdered, and it was not just one, there were several of them as the year started. And right now, statistics according to the United Nations, of around 85,000 women have been murdered this year globally, and that's through gender-based violence. Like 65% of those murders were through gender-based violence and intimate partner relationships. So I would like us to talk about how women can protect themselves. Firstly, by I think you have much more of the answer to this question. So how can women protect themselves?
First of all, let me say something before I respond to that. Like, you know, there has been an act which was formed in 2014. It's called, what's the name? It's called gender-based violence something. There is an act that was formed in 2014 to eliminate gender-based discrimination. And this policy, it has been there since 2014 up to these days.
That's 10 years.
But what does that show? It was formed, but they never tried to take the responsibility of forming it. So that's why these violences are increasing.
Yeah.
So when we come back to our question that you are asking, how can women prevent
protect
themselves from gender-based violence? First of all, I would say education. Yeah. Be educated. If women are educated on their rights and the rights of their partners, because this thing is not happening out of relationship. It's always in relationship. So they have to be educated. What do you expect from your man, and what does your man expect from you? The other thing that I also say is being responsible, you know. You be responsible of whatever you are going into.
Okay.
Like when you are going into a relationship with somebody you really don't know, they should try not to go by themselves.
Or even a casual meetup for that matter.
At least meet somewhere in public, whereby even in an hotel, somewhere that you can be seen and you can be easily helped when an emergency occurs. Also dependent, you know, being dependent, when you depend so much on somebody, it starts like, it's the same with somebody who is feeding you. You know, somebody who is feeding you, he will always have right over you. You will not say anything. Like, even if you are right and you want to say something, he'll tell you, I'm feeding you, what do you want to tell me? So you don't have the option but to take what is telling you, even if it's wrong, you know. But they should have that mentality that, okay, even me, I have the rights to do whatever is right and to know how to respond to things.
Let's have a reverse look to this matter. Now, my second question is, how should men protect themselves from gender-based violence?
Now, men, first of all, what I'll say, they should be, first of all, be satisfied, you know, with what they have. Okay. Wanting too much leads to something else. Like, if you have decided to marry, just live within your marriage, you see.
I think the way you're looking at it somehow still vilifies men, and I think this is a problem in society, where people always think that when you talk about gender-based violence, whichever way it's going, it's the man's fault. You know, where people always say that women are victims. And I would like to quote the president when he spoke in Parliament. He said that female victims are being murdered by male criminals, and those are very strong words to hear. You know, that's like propagating. You know, we're trying to solve one problem on this side, but we're creating another problem on this side by always looking at the men being as the perpetrators or the cause of gender-based violence. I like the way the first answer you gave was like women should have, you know, should have knowledge and all that. So now, how about men? What should they do? Because there are so many scenarios, so many situations where you find, and we hear that there are many cases that are unreported of men experiencing gender-based violence in their homes. And these cases go unreported. And even if they get reported, society doesn't really give them so much weight as opposed to giving so much focus and weight to women being the victims of gender-based violence. So let's look at it again in another way, that we try to solve the problem for men who might as well have not even caused the violence to be meted upon them, but it's meted upon them. So how do these kind of men protect themselves from gender-based violence?
You know, first of all, I'll say we can't classify a person as a criminal.
Yeah.
You know, you don't choose to be a criminal, but the situations make you to choose to go into that part. Yeah. Like, let me say an example where that you might find that a man has abused a woman First, you might find that this man, he was loyal to this person, and he has dedicated much of his time, like even spent a lot of money. Like in such situations, you find that men, when they fall in love for a woman, let's say, for example, this lady, she is in high school, like not high school, let's say university or college. And then this guy decides that, okay, I love this woman and she wants to study, let me pay for her fees until she finishes her course. Then you find that after this man has paid the course, everything, the woman has finished her course, graduated, and then the woman changed her mind.
And says, you know what?
Yeah, I'm no longer interested in you. What do you think as a man?
It's a tough situation to be
in.
in.
What comes into your mind? First of all, you will go through a psychological disturbance, because it might lead even to depression. Why? Imagine if you could have used that money to do something else, it could have helped you. But now imagine you have spent almost maybe $1 million and above, and then all of a sudden somebody is telling you, I'm not interested. So what this man will think, okay, you are not interested after spending my money. Where do you think I was getting that money? Now this leads to that, to what people are calling being a criminal or a murderer, because they would say,
but
okay,
there was a root cause, and I think that there must be, when someone's making choices, he or she must have wisdom with regards to what they intend to do, and look forward, not look at just right in front of your nose and say, this is what I want to do, this is the woman I want to marry, and she's still young, she's going to grow up. So have you looked at how it's going to be in the long term? Let's get back to how men should really protect themselves from gender-based violence, because I think that many men think that they're very strong, and in many scenarios, there are actually cases where, in a case of gender-based violence in an enclosure like a house, a woman is actually the one that's beating up the husband, and she's screaming, and so outside the house, people think that she's the one who's being abused, but she's doing it. She's the one who's doing it to the man. So how should men protect themselves from gender-based violence?
I think men, they should protect themselves. First thing that they should have, they should be wise while making decisions. Don't only see the nearby results, but also look at the far point of whatever you want to take into your life, you know. So like an example of what I was talking about, you have fallen in love with a certain lady, you have decided to cater for her education. You know, this person, you are not sure, is growing, she's growing up. And as a human being, we know she will change her mind, you know. She won't be that. It's in a rare cases, you find that somebody educated a woman and he married the same woman, you know. So first, for men to protect themselves from gender-based violence, they have to be wise when making decisions. Yeah, they should not just look at the near outcome, but they should look at it in a far point, whereby they decide on, so this choice that I'm making, what is the outcome, you know?
How about the men who are being beaten up?
About the men who are being beaten up, I would say
and even stabbed like 7 times.
It's not their choice.
So how can those ones protect themselves? And also, in the interest of time, I would also like us to move on to other things, like people who are already in a situation where they're constantly beaten up. How do they even get out of such relationships? But before we go to that, you were still talking about how men should protect themselves. The ones who are in situations where they're being beaten up, they're being threatened with violence, they're being threatened with poisoning, and the women that we marry are the ones who are in charge of our food, right? And they can do anything, right? They can, some people say, I'll be cooking steel wool for him in the food for a period of like 1 month and he's going to be gone. You know, how do men protect themselves from such situations?
Okay. Let's talk about this man who is being beaten, first of all.
Yeah, let's talk about that one.
Yeah, you might find one thing that is leading to this man being beaten is not working, you know. the wife is the one who provides everything. Now, if your wife is providing everything for you, if she's thought that if she is that self-centered woman, she will always be, now since I'm providing, you follow my rules, you know? Like, so from there, you can't provide anything. This man, actually men, they should work. There is a difference between a man and a woman. We as men, we don't get that old easy like ladies, you know. You ladies, the more after they have conceived their firstborn, secondborn, they won't be the same. But a man will just be the same man unless he reaches the age of 50, 60s. Now he starts changing. So if this man is not working and he has decided to be in the same situation, he doesn't want to go out there and try as other men. You know, when you try, you will just find a way. There is no man who have or any person who have tried to do something and has failed since he's consistent. But if you decide to be in the same situation that now you want your wife, now she's working, she's getting a good money, so let me just follow her rules. It will reach that point now. You are no longer saying anything. Even if you used to be tough, you are no longer saying anything because this woman will say, okay, you are trying to be tough on me. Okay, I'll show you. You will bring some men, they will beat you up. And then you will still say, okay, she's the one providing for me, my family, so I can't go anywhere. Let me just stay there.
I think there are multiple ways to look at that, because there are many different kinds of scenarios where violence happens in different ways. And I think there's so much that we can cover in that regard. But I want us, I don't want us to end this program without us talking about people who are in situations where they're being abused. And through my research, I've found out that there's so many people who are being abused in various other ways apart from physical abuse, and they have no idea that it's going on. And I would like us now to talk about how would someone who's being abused for a long period of time, like 1 year, 2 years, 3 years down the line, they're being abused on a constant basis. How can they get out of such a situation and even recover from the psychological effects of being abused? For both men and women, by the way.
First, it's always simple. You know, like you can't stay somewhere that you are not psychologically stable, mentally
but then
stable.
it does happen that people stay for a long time.
People do stay because they don't want to make choice. It's not that they can't make choice, but anybody can make a choice. So it depends. The choice you can make can either change your life to be good more than whatever you expected. But some people are afraid of making choices. Like the way I said, when a woman is working, maybe she has a company and this man was signed a part of that company, and the woman also provides for the man's family, you see? Or even the woman owns everything, you know? So this man says, okay, when I make a choice of leaving, I'm going to lose everything.
Or even the woman as well. If she makes a choice of leaving the husband, she will also lose provisions. Even the children might have to be in a problematic financial situation. So how would someone who feels disempowered, basically someone who's under abuse always feels disempowered, very briefly, how can such a person find the strength to get out of such a situation?
In that situation, it's somehow hard, but what I'll also say, it depends on the person. Like, you know, when you have a community support, first of all, what these people, they require is a support, you know? They require family support, community support, and also if a relative support, you know? Like, in every family, there must be a rich relative somewhere. But if this guy does not have a support, or this woman does not have a support, now
continue to suffer.
He will continue to suffer. They will continue to suffer because they are afraid of making those choices. Like a woman with 4 kids. At the same time, like, now, when I leave this husband, where am I going to take my kids? How am I going to provide for them? More so, if this woman used not to work, it becomes another problem.
Yeah.
So she better say, okay, let me just stay in the situation. I hope it will change.
Yeah.
But it's not going to change if she has not made a choice, or the guy has not made a choice. So what matters is support.
Yeah.
Family support, community support, brotherlyhood support, and also a spiritual support.
Yeah.
Like when you have your fellow believers, brothers, like we as Muslim, we know we are the Ummah, and al-Muslim, akhul Muslim.
Yeah. A Muslim is a brother of a Muslim.
Yeah.
Yep.
So if you don't get that support where your brother can help you, there is no way you are going to make a choice. The situation remains the same, and that's where you find that these people now, they continue experiencing constant abuse because they lack support. What matters is support there.
Yeah.
So if, first of all, if this person or this woman has a support, one thing, the support that he has from his community or people might help him recover from the psychological
trauma.
Trauma.
Might actually help the man or the woman to be able to start their life afresh as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what matters is the support. We can end this by supporting each other.
Yeah.
If my brothers, they look at me, at my tough situation, and also if I'm good, when I'm at a good situation, that will change life. But since in life that we are living right now, you see that people want to just live by themselves. You say, okay, we were raised together, but now everybody has his own life. So there is no support there.
Yeah. I would also like to add that also as we wind up, because time is already time has already gotten exhausted for us. But I'd also like to add that even neighbors, because sometimes siblings are quite far, family members are quite far, but neighbors can also help. When you hear screaming in the house, report the matter to the nearest police station. Try to bring religious leaders on board. Try to bring as many people as possible to try and counsel this person and even help them to realize some people are being abused, but they don't know that they're being abused. So also help them to realize that they're being abused and empower them to move forward. Final word as we wind up, very briefly, what's your final word with regards to finding strength in times of adversity?
Okay. My final word to everybody out there.
Yeah.
First, I'll advise you to trust in the Almighty. The God who created us, He has a purpose for each and every person that's out there. The second advice I can give, build your faith. That means build your relationship with your God. Thirdly, be patient. Be patient on whatever. Don't rush things. Everything, if something good was meant to reach at your point, or for you to have it, it will always come. It doesn't matter how long it will take. But if you are patient, you will receive whatever was written for you.
Okay. Thank you very much for coming to today's show, and thank you for taking your time to shed light and even share with us your own experience and inspirations to come up with the institution that you're working with, and also letting us have a little glimpse of your book. And I'm so sure for the viewer back at home, they're very curious to know about that book and when the launch is going to happen. And inshallah, we're going to post that information on our Facebook channels, on our Facebook account, so that they can also check it out. So you can also have a look at the details of when the launch of the book Finding Strength in Adversity is going to be launched by our very, very noble guest. His name is Hassan Ahmed Odawa. Thank you very much. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increases you in wealth, strength, health, education and knowledge, as well as enable you to have all that it takes for you to have benefits in the dunya and also in akhirah, inshallah. Thank you very much for joining us today. At home, so a viewer at home, I would like to also notify you that although we're coming to the end of this program, you can also check this program out on our YouTube